Hi class, I want to take a few minutes and talk to you about the research project spreadsheet tool that you should be receiving shortly. I want to offer a disclaimer at the beginning. This tool is completely voluntary. It will not be turned in for credit, but using it will help you with those assignments that are turned in for credit. This tool is meant to help keep you organized as you develop the research project, and also to help you see the scope of the research project across the course of the semester. This semester is going to seem long. It's going to seem confusing as you start to do all of these different parts of your research project, and it's sometimes difficult to see how they all fit together. So this is meant to help you see the big picture throughout the semester. So as you will notice at the bottom of this document, as the bottom of the sheet, there are tabs for the different major sections of your research project. You're going to want to scroll over. There's quite a few sections. But the first thing is the research questions. This is why you're receiving it at this point in the semester, because you would have revised your research questions, or you will have revised them within the next 24 hours. If you haven't submitted them to me via email, please go ahead and do that as soon as possible. But this is where you have your solidified research questions and your research topic. So your research topic goes right here, just is a nice friendly reminder for you. This is what we are researching, and here are your research questions. We have them split out so we can make sure that we stay on track with those throughout the course of the semester. As I said, each group will probably have between 3 and 5 research questions. If you don't need to fill in all these boxes, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. So you'll enter your revised research questions into this after emailing them to me. And then you'll move on to the next part of the project. The methods and sampling framework is due soon. You need to start thinking about that. The methods and sampling framework is a roadmap for your project. Think of it as the recipe. This is how we're going to get there. The Google Maps directions, if you will. We're going to go step by step by step until we get to our final destination. So this is meant to help keep you on track with that. The major parts of the method section, though not the only parts, are the population and sample. So who are you going to survey? Why are you going to survey them? And then how are you going to survey them? These two sections relate to the methods section. So I will give you an example. This example included is much more detailed than the one that you will likely do. And the reason is this is part of a 70+ page project, and you are doing a 6-page project. This one took place over the course of 6 to 8 months. Yours will not take that long. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of detailed information, that's okay. You don't need this level of detail, but I want you to have this tool so you can keep yourself on track as you move forward. So for example, if we were asking the research question, what is the parent's perception of their child's health? This is who we are going to survey to answer that question. So for this project, they chose to survey people in the South Bronx, East Harlem, Jamaica, Queens, Central Brooklyn, and Stapleton, Staten Island. So they have an estimated population over 1 million individuals. You will need to keep that in mind. If you are, for example, surveying BYU Idaho students, you need to give your readers a fairly good picture of what BYU Idaho students look like, including how many there are. So you need to go to the university demographics page. You can even Google it, BYU Idaho demographics, and more information than you ever wanted will pop up. But let's move forward. So this is who is being surveyed from a population of 1 million. How was this population selected? It was selected because they're high poverty rates, minority populations, and self-reported suboptimal health. So that's the criteria for inclusion in this. That's why those groups were chosen. But then specifically, who from those groups is chosen? Okay, we see it's individuals 18 years or older that had at least one child under 18 who had lived in their home in the target zip codes for the previous 12 months. So you'll need to say that. If you're looking at BYU Idaho students, for example, you might say from a population of however many, and then share a little bit about that group. You want to select about how many people and what is their criteria. They're currently enrolled at BYU Idaho as either an online or a day student. And why did you want to survey BYU Idaho students? For this survey, they just want to survey them because of their high poverty rates and self-reported suboptimal health. Well, why did you select BYU Idaho students? You need to provide a justification so future researchers understand. Now that you've provided all of that information, you're going to explain how you're going to reach them. In this case, they're using a pen and paper survey. I highly recommend against the pen and paper survey in your case. If you choose to use an online survey, which I highly recommend you doing, you need to explain why you chose the online survey. And it's not because my teacher told me to. It's because it's more convenient, it's easy, you have more accurate data, things like that. You'll need to provide justification. If for some reason any of this information differs among research questions, you're going to want to enter that. Okay, let's move on. This is where this tool becomes incredibly helpful. You've developed your research questions, you've decided on your population and sample and your method of recruitment, and now it is time to write your survey questions. Not now, obviously, but now once you get to that point. One of the things about writing a survey is that it is very easy to go off track. It's very easy to focus on nice to know information rather than need to know information. This tool is meant to help you focus on that need to know information. You need to know certain things to be able to answer your research questions. And it's vital to your grade that those research questions are clearly answered with the data that you collect. So you need to stay on top of that. So scroll on over here and you see here are the research questions that specifically here are the survey questions that specifically relate to each research question. So if the research question was, what is a parent's perception of their child's health? The way I'm going to find data to answer that is I'm going to ask specifically in a survey, in your opinion, what is the general health of the children living in your household? And as far as you know, do any of the children living in your home need or use medicine prescribed by a doctor other than vitamins? It's just, these questions relate directly to, to this research question. So theoretically, once I receive answers to these questions, I can put that together, run analyses, and answer this question. And you'll see that continues for the other research questions. I highly, highly, highly recommend you do this because you can have 20 to 25 questions in your survey. It is really easy to get off track, really easy to write interesting questions that are not necessarily related. And then you find at the end of the semester that you've collected a whole lot of data and still can't answer your research questions. Your grade will suffer if that happens. I recommend using this tool so that you can visually see how each thing is related. Okay, now you've written those research questions and now, or those survey questions, and now you need to run the test. This is where the stats guru comes in that we talked about at the beginning of the semester. You need someone who's willing to be the point person on the statistical analysis. They don't have to be a budding statistician or epidemiologist. They have to be an organized person who is willing to sit down with group members and decide which test goes with which survey question and how does that relate to answering the research questions. You'll see this is fairly simple. And the reason for that is that you can break down the statistical analysis, sorry about that, if you have a plan. So you can say, person A, I need you to analyze questions 1 through 5. Here are the specific tests that I need you to run on questions 1 through 5. Please provide us with your information. Person B, I need you to answer questions 6 through 10. Here are the tests that need to be run. Please provide us with your information. This prevents you from sitting up all night the night before this assignment is due, trying to figure out how to run the analysis. It also gives you the opportunity to use some of that dead time that we have when the survey is sent out and you're waiting for responses to come in. You can make this plan long before you have all of the data back from your survey. And I highly recommend doing that because the time period from when the IRB application is approved to when you can send your survey out to when the survey needs to be back in so that you can collect data is pretty tight. If you have a plan before, which you can do while you're waiting for people to answer the survey, then as soon as that data comes in, you can start running that analysis and you can spend more time polishing the language on your assignment and less time panicking because you have run out of time. Finally, this discussion section is another section where you really, really need to keep those research questions in mind. So by this point, you've done everything up to here. You've run the statistical test. You have the answers to the statistical test, but you don't have an interpretation. So this is where you need to interpret your results. This is where you say, this is what my results mean, and this is why it matters, and this is how it relates to previous research. So as you'll see, this goes for each individual research question. So here's the interpretation. This is how it relates to previous research, and this is the citation related. The reason that you want to do that is because this section will require that you include citations, and it gets really annoying for you when you have to go back and find those citations. So if you can make that connection and say, hey, here's the citation, I'm just going to copy and paste it later, totally fine. The goal with this tool is to keep you organized, so in the end there is a lot of copying and pasting from this or just filling in the blanks in your paper so that it is not so time consuming and frustrating at the end. It also lets all group members see the plan from start to finish, because working with a group can be difficult. It can be hard for everyone to catch on to that vision that you have. If you keep it in writing, keep it organized, it should work great. I just want to let you know about one or two more things. First of all, every square you fill in should theoretically populate on the next one. So when you fill in your research questions on this first page, theoretically, if the formula is working correctly, it should fill that in on all of the pages going forward. So you don't need to go back in and fill it in. So once you fill in your methods section, everything from that point on should, every time your methods information is needed, it should automatically populate. If you have any questions about the tool, let me know. As I said before, the tool is completely voluntary, but it really, really will help with your level of organization and communication as a group. So I highly recommend using it. Please let me know if you have any questions, if your tool is broken, etc. I mean, all of those are within the realm of possibility, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.